Welcome back to the channel. I got the stump grinder on the tractor and I've been moving logs around. We did some tree cutting recently and I put the forks on the bucket and I went to move a log and I rammed into a rock and I broke the bolt off on my clamp-on forks. This goes up from underneath and here's a bolt, looks like a 3/8. Doesn't look like a grade 8. Maybe they're designed to break. That'd be your soft spot so you don't bend the forks. But that clamps on the bucket, snap that off, but look where it broke. Down inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a nut and I'm going to do a little weld and see if I can weld a nut on there and back that bolt out and replace the bolt. I use the Lincoln 140 here. I'm going to turn the heat up, turn the speed down. I'm going to put a small nut on there first and I'm going to hold it with some old needle nose and I want to weld inside of that and set it on like that and just shoot the heat inside there and see what happens. Let's see if we can get anything happening here. Well, let's try attempt number 1 here, right? Sometimes it takes a few. Gotta get my wire I should have brought up cutting pliers. Okay, so let's see what happens. Try to put your heat inside the nut. And not weld your pliers to it. And that'll be attempt number 1. What that does, it heats up the bolt. And sometimes you stretch the threads. And I hope we didn't, do that. Hopefully just the bolt sheared off. The whole handle turned. Yeah, there it is. Attempt number 1. No good. I don't want to damage the threads. I brought out a second nut. Let's try that one. Looks like I'll have to grind a little slag off first. Get it nice and flat because I want the heat to go down inside of it. Let's go with attempt number 2. You got to angle right down inside the center. Keep the heat in the center. And try to fill that nut up. I'm not sure. That looked like it tilted a little bit. We'll let that cool. Drop my helmet. But let that cool a second. Second attempt, no good. Just like an exhaust manifold, right? So this one is a shouldered bolt. I don't know if that's going to be any better. I hate to use these, but I'd like to get that bolt out. A little more in there. The key is to get her hot. If it doesn't work, probably what I'll do is if I can't get that out of there, probably what I'll do is I'll weld a bolt on it and bring a nut down through here and connect a nut onto it. But these are designed to wiggle around a little bit so it clamps onto your bucket. So let's see if that's a help. If this doesn't work, this will be a fail. We'll move on. Grab some pliers. Well, that was officially a fail. Like I said, this goes on there, and normally the bolt goes in, and then there's a shoulder on it, so it doesn't tighten up all the way. So this flat piece will wiggle just a little. You know, it just doesn't get tight. And when you tighten it down to your bucket, this can stop turning. So it'll sit wherever, and then it stops turning. If it stayed on the bolt really tight, this whole thing will turn. I'm not sure that the fork won't walk around while you're tightening it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this. This has happened, I think I've had these forks for about 15 years anyway. And they're okay. I don't like clamp-ons, but they're cheap enough, whatever. I think I'm going to put a bolt, and then I'll put a nut in there. And what'll happen is I don't have to tighten the nut up all the way. And it'll still do the same thing. And I can take the nut off, and I can pull this piece out. I can grind the bolt off. If we break it off, I can just weld another one on there. So I'll crank this up a little ways. We'll go ahead and weld this bolt here is a grade 8. I'll weld that on there. And we get some good heat on it. And probably grind that off again. Get some heat on there. And then I think that'll work fine. What I'll do is maybe I'll get this shifted up so it's level, so this doesn't keep moving on me. And we'll weld that thing on there. Well, let's see if this is any better. I'll just get a tack on it. Hopefully it won't move around. And try to keep the weld down below the shoulder. And what else do I have to think of? That's about it. It just sits down to the shoulder. I wonder, you know what I should do? Maybe I'll throw a washer on there before I set this. Maybe a little wider washer so I can tighten it up. I think that'll work. So, maybe I can hold that still. This isn't rocket science. It's just got to be in the center. Let's see what we got now. My glasses are darkening up so I can't see. Let me get a light. Well, I can see a little better. That's a working. Well, not super pretty, but it looks functional. Do some right here. And then I'll clean up that thread a little bit, run a nut down on it, put a washer on it, and I think we're in business. Okay, I put my washer on there, put the piece on there, nut. I'm not going to worry about lock nut or whatever, because when these are clamped on, they can't fall off, you know, and I can check it each time. Sometimes you can take a nut like this and just peen it in slightly, make it a little bit oblong, and then it's a lock nut. I do have some neoprene nuts. I think what I'll do with this one is I'll run it all the way down tight. What I should do is take the washer back off, run it down tight, take the grinder, whisk that off on the top. But then I'll have to clean up the thread. I'll get a socket. This is 9/16. Run that down a little bit. You want this to have a little play, and I'll nip off the top. If I nip off the top so it's flush, that nut probably can't back off anyway too easily. And that's what you want. So I think this is going to work. Let me get a socket. I ran that nut down all the way. She's locked down now. It sticks up just a hair. So I'm going to whisk that off. Then I'm going to back that nut back off so that this swivels. Should work pretty slick. There we have it. That should work great. And then I ground that, and it kind of mushroomed the head a little so that nut won't fall off either. So that's what you need. So when you tighten it up and it starts clamping on, this doesn't turn. You want it to lock to your bucket. So let's try it out. All right, let's try her out. There's some reinforcement bars under here. There's one here, here, here. So you got to get between them, line it up straight. And you see this swivels. That works. We can put probably, I don't know, 600-700 pounds out there. I think they work pretty slick for the, you know, the money, not buying additional forks and so on. This is not a quick attach bucket. I wish it was, but I bought this in 99 or 2000 new. I used the crap out of it. It works great. But this will lift a log. Probably the cherries I were lifting was 12 footers, 24-inch diameter. Not a problem. Load it right on the trailer. So it works great. Now I'm going to go back to it. But I think what I did is I tilted the buckets too far and I rammed it right into the earth. I hit a rock and it goes ping, and that thing moves. So I said, oh, they broke off. But that's the weak point, is the bolt. So thanks for watching. Just a quick one. I was going to show you how to throw a nut on there, weld it, and then back out a broken bolt. But I showed you how you can install a bolt instead of a nut. So, or vice versa, you know, it works good. Thanks for watching. See you soon.